I depends on what you want to do. The floor is yours, but of course, I mean, I'm not sure we can really talk about the Palestinian Museum like we would be talking about it,
with
as
audience.
outside of the current conjuncture, outside of the current situations that we are living, and the ongoing genocide and the risk of the very, very concrete, palpable risk of a regional war. So I sort of my first thought would be to ask you to think of the project of the Palestinian Museum as an institutional project, as an archetypical institution, as the building or the setting up of an archetypical institution in the current context. So what's the meaning of building institutions, creative institutions in the context of an ongoing genocide? But you choose, because maybe I don't know what you want to do. Maybe perhaps it's too painful for you to talk about it.
It's it's something. First, if you allow me, I have. Did you get a copy of this? I
Yes,
imagine
but I have
you
it in
did.
Amsterdam. I don't have it here.
Okay. Uh, First, thank you very much for the beautiful article. I sent uh, the essay that your contribution. Uh, your essay titled "Art as Radical Institutionalism," and I think it has a certain has a certain like a kind of permanent validity to it. And I'm just like, if you allow me, if you just allow me to read just the very very beginning of it, and I think it somehow reflects the current moment in some ways, in different ways, but sort of like also reveals a kind of optimism to things. Even though I mean, in culture we tend to keep looking forward. In a sense, we want to sort of like not resolve problems, but to sort of like really accept certain uh, uh, certain human things. And let me just like read it. You start with saying a disjointed, dislocated relationship between reality and the image has always struck me as a crucial and productive qualities of the Palestinian Museum of Natural History and Humankind and the Ruach Biennale. Two keywords, or rather projects, by Khalil Rabah. In what follows, you will argue that both of them deconstruct the dichotomy between real and the imaginary in order to harness the later to transform the former. And it is again, the uh, this makes me think of how, as cultural practitioners, we uh, we sort of like use imagination that is so fundamental to what we do in order to transform something that is the opposite of it, the reality, and in order to really give us oxygen, give us a way to look forward, to move, to keep going. Like I was mentioning how my friend Christine Thomas said, of course I have to work. I said, but there are bombing right now next to you. And she goes, if I don't work, I will die. Eh, and the other day I was talking to a friend of mine asked me to get her in connection with some people in order for the Edward Said Conservatoire to have them perform somewhere in the United Arab Emirates. And she said that what they are doing now is so passionate. It feels like this is, they're doing it as if they just want to do it as if they're just gonna die after it, after doing it, after performing. And I said, maybe if they perform, they will not die, in a sense. And it's these kind of things that give us this sense of maybe for us, because we are not in the war zone, actually, it's very, very difficult. I stopped. I was thinking of what is this project now? Now, what is it? I mean, do we? I mean, does it mean anything now? And I feel like no, maybe it is a way of survival, for resistance, for maybe presenting truth, recording it, uh, and yeah, it's who we are, I think. Yeah, I'll let you, Chiara, tell me.
Yeah, I'm thinking of sort of what you just said made me think of a number of potential lines of conversations that we could pursue. One is the modality of the as if, which seems to me to be really key to your work. A lot of your work is in the modality of this as if. We start from the current reality, but at the same time, we don't look at the current reality through a factual lens, but we look at reality again through the lens of the as if. So let's explore in the cracks, in the interstices of the current monstrous reality to find possibilities and openings for the imagination, which always has to do with reconfiguring the real and the present moment in order to open up differential futures. And the other question that I'm thinking a lot about recently is the question of Adorno's idea of art in genocide or art after genocide, that there is no art and no cultures after genocide, and there is no possibility of it. And at the same time, what you're saying and the reference to Christine Thome, that you must continue to work as if things were different in order to make space and create a space for things to be different.
It's, it's sometimes, I have to admit, I really, in a strange way, I feel different when I come back here. When, and even though I'm not, yeah, I mean, the situation in the West Bank, well, and in comparison to Gaza, but still, uh, it is difficult. It's so, I mean, I cannot really stop thinking of, for instance, now I'm like so much occupied with this architecture of rubble and how people inhabit it. I mean, I see some images and some short videos of how people I mean, they've been displaced, displaced again and again and again. And the ways they try to inhabit what's there, what's, I mean, it's becoming okay, and there is a certain resistance by inhabiting or a certain environment that is completely destroyed, destructive environment that is, God knows what's below it. I mean, it's this thing between almost a womb and a tomb, you know. They want to keep living, they want to keep surviving, and at the same time, they know they are like making this exist for them on probably a top of a unplanned cemetery. I mean, what does it mean? You know, like what 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 does it mean for people like this? I mean, it's like, t- is this creativity? Is this survival? I mean, are we doing, in a sense, the same modality, but because we are in a different environment, we try to, you know, make ways in living in rubble, in destroyed things, in things that you were so talking about, how it's in Holland, how it's so, and knowing that we are living on, we are building this on o- along and in an environment that is so destroyed, and it's not yeah, I'm not trying, yeah, to show this pessimistic, but yeah, that's why I wanted to read what you wrote in that thing, you know, this disjointed, dislocated relation between reality and image, and maybe because we are watching it, we see the image, but it is not, يعني, إنه it's this reality and the image, and maybe the reality and the image, we also live another image that is similar image, you know. I don't know if I make sense, or I'm just too confused nowadays.
I mean, I was thinking, I'm working on a piece on distraction together with Khaldun.
Sorry, Clara. I just want to say that we have 9 minutes for, because then the call going down. So maybe I send you another link.
Okay. Yeah. If you
Okay.
want for something, I can also send you my Zoom link in case you need it.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Or of my personal meeting room that doesn't have a time limit.
Perfect. Yes. Also, we can do also. We can switch now, so we don't have problem.
Okay, I'm gonna send it to you in a moment. Let me. How can I send it to you via email?
Yes, maybe you can also put on this chat on Zoom.
Yes. Let me check because I need to. One moment. I don't know exactly how to recover the.
Julia,
Yes.
can I ask you, just send us another one, because we were talking about something, we want to just keep going with this point. Is
Yeah,
it
Mm-hmm.
no,
possible?
maybe just send. Yeah, you're right. Khalil is right. Just send us another link.
Just send us another link, we'll
Yes.
connect.
Of
If it
course.
disconnects, it disconnects, it's fine. This is
Okay. Yes, you're right.
yeah, this is how things are nowadays, you know. If we disconnect, we disconnect. But you were saying something, you were working with Khaldun on something related to destruction.
Yes, I mean it really it made me when you mentioned that you are working or reflecting on this idea of the architecture of the rubble and how people inhabit rubbles, it made me think of this kind of work that we are trying to do, which is thinking in terms of the different forms of distractions, particularly destruction of cultural property and destruction of culture. And that is somehow, I would say we are right now, we are kind of struggling with it, because in a way, distraction is both kind of in a way very simple and a-theoretical, because the distraction that we are witnessing right now and that people are experiencing right now is utter distraction. I mean, there is an excess of materiality that is hard to kind of theorize. And at the same time, I think it's important, and it's hard, it's difficult, but that we need to start from utter distraction. And perhaps a way is what you were suggesting, is to be inspired by people who kind of refuse to take the utter distraction and the rabble for granted as what they are, and trying to inhabit them.
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, not we should. I mean, at least in my studio, which I will never be able to take the work that I'm doing in my studio outside of Ramallah or ship them or whatever, because they are all, fragments of things that I'm finding around and whatever, so on and so forth. And they are like becoming like big, humongous installations. But it's sort of like I realize that I'm inhabiting destruction. And I'm sort of like this environment, it's becoming the architecture for me. Uh, maybe it's just, maybe in a way, in a subconscious way, I, in a maybe perverted way, uh, I want to live like how these people live. It's like it's part of the identity, to live in destruction. And for me, architecture is, I'm not saying there's an aesthetic of what's happening, but, or, how we traditionally think of architecture or culture or art. But when, I mean, I feel different when I'm working with the things that have been destroyed and uh, trying to make sense of it, like how I see people like making sense of whatever things that are they find here and there, and they just like make a tent, or there's like here and there, and they make an oven or something. Uh, they are inhabiting elements of destruction, that are destroyed. And to me, this is almost the ultimate, the ultimate kind of architecture, because we build in order to in a sense, with the idea that it is safe, but destruction is not safe. So how to, in a sense, get, how do I say, it's like not just resist that, but also to defy it by taking destruction and claiming it as ours. It's very, very strange feeling. It's very strange. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm
I
sorry.
I No, I totally see what you mean. And it is a kind of negative architecture, an architecture which is not about building, but it is about something else. Because a building will, if you build something out of the rubble, then it will get destroyed very soon.
No,
And
but
as
when you
such,
inhabit the rubble, when you inhabit it, you know, it's I mean, that's how these people are living. They inhabit the rubble, they inhabit the destruction, and they live. They want to continue living. I mean, it's a very very tormented kind of approach to things. But I don't know. I don't know.
but Khalil, and if I may ask, what do you do with the rubble in your studio concretely in terms of your own practice? Or what do you do with the rubbles
I
that
find
the
some
fragments of life?
pieces. I find some pieces that can join together. I find, and they can start to function as new tools that I don't understand what they work for, but they can work for things that we have to, in a sense, I have to really find a moment for them to work. Uh, Not relying on activities that I'm familiar with. So, I mean, I reach at a point where when I put these things together or join them together, or like, I can see that they might function for this, they can function for this, they can function for that, but that is a system that is unknown. That is, would be nice. It will be great if this could be an initial thing, but I would really like to have a small group of people that 4 or 5 that we can have not just one-on-one like you and I are doing now, to have, you know, a small group of people that we can sort of join together and talk about what we are trying to talk about.
Mhm.
I think it seems like there are things that we are trying to understand. We have feelings, obviously. Uh, I don't think we want to theorize things, but perhaps it can be a tool if we join together with some people uh, to try to start to navigate together. Because as I was telling you, when I'm in my studio alone. Uh, Probably when you're in your workspace, you are alone, and perhaps there's a need for a collective ping pong, give and take, and maybe X would say this, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what I'm thinking, oh yeah, you know, I can see that, and maybe what you are saying, or X is saying, or Y is saying is something where I'm trying, I feel it, but I cannot articulate it. Do I make sense?
No, totally, Khalil. Well, first of all, I have to say that I was telling Julia that for me is always a pleasure and a marvelous learning experience and thinking experience to be in a conversation with you. And first of all, I was thinking that I'm in this project together with Yazan, which is called Imagine Art, Imagining Institutions Otherwise. And we are starting to plan our final conference for the project, which will take place something in the early months of the year. So that could also be a platform, even though it's not now, it's not very soon, but that could also be a platform for a get together, a sort of moment of collective reflections around the topics that we touched upon. If you want to, that would be great. If we could do something together to
Yeah,
start thinking from rubbles. And what you said also made me think of something that I really realized it once more last 2 weeks ago when we had a demonstration, a Palestine solidarity demonstration in Amsterdam at the UvA at my university. And I really felt it was a bodily feelings like what you were describing before or hinting at before, that finally after weeks and weeks of feeling of solitude, feeling very lonely in my studio, trying to make sense of things that do not make sense. And it was at the level of really of bodily experience. It was a good moment. So being together this point in time is good for us. And it really made me think that the time when I felt good in the last month have always been the times where we got together with the whole encampment movement in Amsterdam and with the solidarity movement. And we have done a lot on Zoom, but also being together also in a physical space gives some reliefs and that you don't have when you think or do things alone.
yeah. I mean, what just comes to mind now, at least starts to get to my mind about a project that I did way, way, way back. I was fascinated with these kind of environments uh, that somehow I managed to work them out through the anthropology department of the museum. About two spaces, one and both I visited, and one I presented images of in Sao Paulo Biennial. The other one was part of different shows. But one of them was about this city of the dead in. This just comes to mind. I don't know what relationship it has. City of the Dead in Cairo, and I was just fascinated how people live in places where it's a graveyard and people live there, you know. I know in my experience, you know, I mean, at least in the queer gay experiences, you know, there's this, probably you've heard of it, about this Mamella Park where there's like these graves and people ended up going there because they can feel more private and they can have sexual encounters there. But I don't know. This is not the point. But you know, so I went there and I met these people where they live in a cemetery, you know, and the graves they live right next to graves, and uh, but I don't know how it's related to what we were talking about, but it just came to mind. And another one that a former Portuguese zoo in Beira, Mozambique. Also, that was people transformed it. They lived in the cages. I mean, and apparently, when I went there, I realized that people, the Portuguese rented them to the people in Mozambique, these cages, because the animals were somehow dead there. But I mean, these kind of environments that just came to mind. I don't know how it is related, if in any way, but it's again, you know, like. But what fascinates me about this idea of rebels and people live on in destruction, and somehow it becomes maybe it's a way to trying to uh, get a little bit closer, not close, but a little bit closer to what kind of experience they're going through, you know. But yes, I agree. I agree. It would be great. Yeah. I mean, we can start before that and then we can continue for what you guys are doing. You know, like you mentioned, you're doing something with Khaldun. Khaldun would be fantastic, always fantastic to to really break heads with. You and I also would recommend Suad. Suad is somebody that is also in, يعني, I don't know, just we can both think of some names and maybe a few names and just like start something now related to them, and maybe we will continue that later with what you are doing with Yazan
Yeah.
and later, you know, but uh, for now, for instance, I'm doing a project in Abu Dhabi and it's again related to olive trees. It's olive season and what I'm doing is like a bunch of mature olive trees, and they are all rotating in different speed, touching and connecting and then disconnecting, and then just like this, almost like a Sufi type of thing, and it's sort of next to the other trees as if they just like want to settle, but there's no settlement. But it's this sort of these are like kind of formal projects for public works, but it is somehow related to what I'm doing in studio that I was talking about earlier, is just trying to find a certain mechanism of destruction that that could become a potential to rethink architecture all over again. And it's not, I mean, when you said negative, to me, it's not negative. It's, I don't know the word. I will tell you next time we meet. I know theories refer to it as negative architecture, but it is not. It is, I think if you ask people in Gaza for now, would you be okay now to move from a tent and live in your destroyed home? Everybody would say, I want to go live in the rubble. I can guarantee that for you. And I don't know, maybe they want to rebuild it, but it's in genocide, I don't think rebuilding is the same thing. I really don't, not anymore, you know, because as we said in our, you know, like I have this, I don't know why I took this out in you know, for the fifth Ruach Biennale, with this concrete, we there's part of the statement that said something about is usually immersed in with its context a 2 year schedule. We wanted to do the Biennale, it spans 2 years, but and again, I'm talking about this more this sort of time here, the element of time, not just space, because destruction has something to do with time. Uh, Several of them have hosted like a 2 year thing, but the idea of this chronic resonates differently here as notions of sustainability, persistence, or borrowed time. To even and we even mentioned to even mention Gaza is to invoke an unimaginably violent 2 year cycle in its own right. If Biennales always produce tensions between autonomy and history, art and language, these tensions mean something very different when the terms at hand are colonialism or ethnic cleansing or genocide. We were talking about this in 2016. So here, and maybe I refer to this now because maybe when we think of space and we're talking about space and architecture and the time element of destruction also, if it's continuous,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's fixed. Architecture is fixed. But when something is being destroyed all the time and you inhabit it, what does it mean? I mean, how can we think of that? How can we think about that? How we can go about thinking in this situation? I took all the time. I took all your time.
No, it's well, first of all, I was, when you first mentioned the architecture of the rubble and living in with destruction, I immediately thought of the City of the Dead in Cairo. At the same time, I was also thinking that they were buried dead. They were respected and honored. And the dead who are buried in Gaza now, they were not properly buried. So there is a different
No,
kind.
they're under the rubble. It's a new cemetery. It's a new kind of a cemetery. And people know they are under the rubble. There are people, we all know that there are people dead under the rubble.
No, but in Cairo, the dead people that the living people live with are kind of pacified because they were buried properly.
I know, and it's
They
a very
were
manicured
respected and
environment.
honored, while the people, the dead, the dead Gazans who are under the rubble now, they were the opposite of respected and buried properly.
It's true.
So they
It's
were
true.
humiliated, lacerated, their body parts were. So it's a different kind of living with the dead
It's
and living with death.
yeah. I mean, it's something I mean, it takes time for us to trying to unpack this, to understand what does it mean, and I don't know. Maybe this is the archaeology of it. Maybe when people they want to inhabit these places, maybe to look for what is this new kind of archaeology. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, these things just we're asking questions more than we have answers,
Yeah.
and I think we owe it to ourselves to really try to uh, discuss this and talk about this. And I think you mentioned the dead are honored there, and I think art practitioners to honor the dead under the rubble is to try to understand what does it mean for these people who are living in rubble. What is it? To try to understand their mentality or try to maybe see what we can learn from or come out like try to like I'm telling you about the things I put together, and they are things, and I know they will work something. It's like they will work for something. They were like a new mechanism that I don't know what it is for. It's like what is what they can function for or what they but it's trying maybe to understand this psychology, this anyway.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important. I was thinking while you were talking of the idea of making the rubble inhabitable and living with death in a way that kind of honors the death and creates a new world, is living with death without accepting the logic of death and trying to pervert it and to change it. And also something that I was thinking that is also, you made me think of, is this idea that Khaldun and I were working on of destruction, not as a point in time and as a point in time and a point in space, but as an extension. at the same time, because in a way I was thinking sort of the genocide that is taking place, on the one hand, is not something new, because it's the continuation and the sort of explosion of conditions and trends that were ongoing. You know, it's sort of the genocide of Palestinian people didn't start with the 7th of October. It's been ongoing. At the same time, I was wondering, this is something that was discussing also recently with some comrades and friends in Amsterdam. When does the sort of the raising, the sort of the expanding magnitude of death, which is not new because Palestinian death was there before as well, but when does this sort of increased magnitude in terms of the number of dead people creates a shift in quality of things? But I don't know, maybe this is, I'm afraid we have to finish, but and I think we touched upon a number of really important topics that we cannot do justice at the moment.
Yeah.
But I only wanted to point out and to kind of underscore these 2 points that you touched upon: the idea of distraction not as a point, not as an event, not as a site and not as an event, but as an extension, sort of and especially in the time scale. And also this idea of inhabiting, living with that, with death, and making something out of it, which has also to do with respecting and honoring, you know, the dead
And the living,
are buried.
I think the living is sort of living their death.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's I mean, it's like there's a statement. I don't know if you have this newsletter that of the
Yes.
museum. In one of the statement concerning the institutional history of the museum, it mentions something. It is the museum is the observance of accursed ignorance, insists of the infinity of traces, and persist irrespective of fragmentation. It is a local rehabilitation of the future. And then it goes to say the Palestinian Museum of Natural History is the international, an institution in the service of universal history. It is only this impossibility. There's something about an impossibility in destruction, and we'll talk about this, I think, later. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, it's not. I mean, as much as we try to look at past experiences of genocide or experiences, but this has never happened. You know, when you are killed over and over and over and over and over and over, you know, it is a new thing. And for me, this experience is a new thing, and it's very difficult to, and that's why I say destruction is, it's not necessarily about a place. It is also here, it's about time, you know, it is over and over and over. It just keeps going. It's just a way of life. It becomes, you live a genocidal way of life. What does it mean? I mean, when there's a genocide, people die and they're like, okay, it's done. But this form of what is happening and what they are doing is something that they wanted to keep going. And I keep saying, you know, I keep like talking to the other day, I was having a conversation. It's like, you know, do they really, these Zionists, do they really want people to hate them that much? You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, as if they are doing it on purpose for people to hate them, not just to get rid of them, just for people and generations to hate them, as if they are doing this on purpose. And I think something to do with keeping alive this notion of if we get rid of this notion of anti-Semitism, well, there's no reason to complain about anything. But if we keep this anti-Semitism living, there's always something. I don't know if it makes sense, as if you're in a relationship and just like you're fighting with somebody and just like trying to do something to hurt them more and more and more, as if you really want the partner to hate you more and forever, and after you die, it's, I don't know. Anyway, so we talk more of optimistic things later, and maybe I will be in my studio and show you guys what I'm doing.
But if I can just emphasize something, because again, you opened up another, you made me think of a lot of things, including, but because we have to close, I just wanted to, emphasize something that you said, and I think it kind of points to the shift in quality of what we are in relation to processes that were already ongoing before the genocide. There were genocidal tendencies and genocidal conditions for Palestinians. But now, sort of, we were talking about living with death, living with the dead. And you said something that I think is profoundly insightful, which is no longer simply inhabiting, living with the dead, like also the people in the cemetery in Cairo, but is living death.
Living death.
An impossibility, and is a contradiction in terms.
It's an impossibility.
If you live, you cannot be dead. But people in Gaza are living death.
Yeah.
But Khalil, let's talk soon. Let's continue. I'll talk to Khaldoun and maybe Yazan, and maybe we create the group. I also had some people in the Netherlands who approached me with an initiative which concerns destruction of cultural property in particular, and maybe we can connect with them as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready to, in this destruction of cultural property. And for me, these things are, I'm ready to join. I'll be willing to join. I would love to join. But these topics are outdated. Cultural destruction is outdated. How can we talk about cultural destruction?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be upset now. I love you, Chiara. But there's something is like, we just talked about culture.
No, I agree. I totally agree
You
with you. I'm only
know.
saying that these people from the Netherlands, they approached me with a project on this topic, and I think we could use it to do something that kind of
It's
makes
important.
sense.
It's important. It's important. I mean, there are all kinds of genocides happening. I mean, I just want to talk about genocide. I mean, cultural destruction. I mean, like the genocide of schools, genocide of culture, genocide of people, genocide of geography, genocide of history, genocide. I mean, unless we unpack why there's, and it's just in time. Anyway, Chiara, it's up to you, Julia. Connect us
I'm
again.
really sorry. Thank you. It was
Connect us again, Julia. It's up to you. I will send you an email. Connect us again. Thank you so much for.
Julia, thank you for getting us together, really, and Khalil. Thank you as always for
Thank you.
Big hug.
talking to me.
Habibti. Habibti.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Ciao.